Citizens of the Republic, welcome to the greatest Star Wars show on YouTube, the Galactic Core, presented by no one. My name's Logan, joined by my co-host Mark. This is the inaugural episode of the Galactic Core, a segmented Star Wars show about everything Star Wars. In today's episode, we have 5 segments for you, along with a 6th for channel members only. Let me send it over to Mark to let you know about all the segments for today.
The first segment of today's episode, Master or Apprentice. Next, HoloNet News. That will lead into Trivia Trials. Then, the Netherworld, followed by Senate Hearing, and finally, the channel member exclusive, Push and Pull.
Please make sure to subscribe and please think about becoming a channel member. You get a lot of benefits over here at the Galactic Core. And before we get into our first segment, Mark, how you doing today, man?
Logan, I'm doing really
All
great.
right, that's enough of that. Let's go ahead and send it over to the boys in the council chambers. Send it over to the first segment, Master or Apprentice.
Thanks, Logan and Mark. Welcome to the first ever segment on the Galactic Core, Master or Apprentice. The main concept for this is we have 5 hot takes submitted by you. We decide on whether we agree or we disagree with them, and whether we will grant you the rank of Master or not. You can get your hot takes submitted in our Discord server, or leave a comment at the bottom of this video with increased odds if you are a YouTube channel member. Alright, let's get into the first hot take submitted by Avenging Past 7. Solo, a Star Wars story, is the best Star Wars movie that Disney has made. Alden Ehrenreich did a fantastic job portraying a young Han Solo, and the story that they created was interesting, captivating, and a fun ride. My opinion on this hot take? I have to admit, I was actually a fan of Solo. I really liked it. Contrary to the mass majority, I feel like who didn't like it. I thought it was a fun movie, but I feel like there is a better Star Wars project that Disney has made. But I'll hand it over to Logan to give his opinion on it.
I definitely agree with you in the sense that, you know, it still is it's a nice movie. I enjoy watching it, exactly like Avenging Path points out. It's a captivating story, a fun ride, so I can't disagree with that. But the main premise of the hot take is that it's the best movie that Disney has put out, which there's 5 of them to choose from. I think handily that Rogue One is better. I do think with some of the sequels, there's some discussion to be had, whether, you know, you like them or not. I think they're still, you know, pretty well put together films. So, but I just can't get behind the hot take fully because I think Rogue One is an absolute masterpiece. Like, that is top 5 Star Wars movies guaranteed to me. I feel like this does have to be a unanimous decision for him to be granted the rank of Master. So,
yeah.
Mark,
So
what's the verdict?
So I agree with everything Logan said. So Avenging Past 7, we do not grant you the rank of Master.
It's unfortunate. It is unfortunate. So to move into the second hot take for today's segment, this one comes from Luke 1. Luke's death in The Last Jedi was the perfect send-off and the best way to conclude his redemption arc. Now, my thoughts on this, I wholeheartedly agree. I can't find a way to disagree with it because of the arc that his character was taken to. It was, you know, maybe I feel like the biggest thing that people might disagree with here or not not agree with on it is they don't like the arc that Luke's character takes. So then obviously you don't want that to be the send off. But I definitely I think with the arc that we got, there's no better way to send it off. You don't want him to be it's not his trilogy. So you don't want him to be sticking around the whole time. If like The Last Jedi is essentially his movie out of the sequels, and he has parts in the Rise of Skywalker, but he's not the main focus of it like he is in The Last Jedi. And for him to have that send off, I think is absolutely perfect for his character arc. That is what a Jedi looks like to me. And
I have
I
to agree.
couldn't have been done any better given those circumstances.
Yeah, whilst the direction that they took with Luke's character may have been controversial to some people, and a lot of people, some people feel certain way about how Luke's character was portrayed.
Yes.
Like you said, given that the send off that he got, I don't think you could do it any better. I mean, him basically sacrificing himself to save the resistance, and I don't want to say this as a literal sense, but kind of passing the torch to Rey for
Yeah.
her to kind of grow in episode 9, basically, and for
Yeah,
her to fulfill her destiny, I guess.
he's passing the torch to her, but in a sense also passing the torch just to the next generation of Jedi
Yeah.
because of him saying, "I will not be the last Jedi,"
Hmm.
implying that
There will
not
be
just
more.
Rey, but there will be more
Yeah,
moving forward. So
exactly.
the verdict today for Luke 1, we do grant you the rank of master. Round of applause for Luke 1.
The
What
first,
a
the
what a
first
hot
ever,
take.
first ever person to be granted the rank of master. This is
Yeah.
historic. All right, we're gonna jump right into the third hot take here, submitted by Ghastly Monkey. Sometimes I think that Ahsoka should have died on Malachor in Rebels. She told Vader that she wouldn't leave him, as it mirrors the ending of Clone Wars Season 5. This one is one of the ones that really stood out to me
Yes.
because, I mean, I have to say that I kind of agree. Just the parallels from the Clone Wars to Rebels,
Yeah.
specifically with Ahsoka and Darth Vader, or, Anakin, um, it really kind of mirrors it well. And I mean, sometimes I do think that as well. I cannot disagree. So,
Maybe some people would think that it's Dave Filoni not wanting to give up his character just yet.
yeah.
And obviously, we're getting a whole show built around her much later than Rebels. So
Yeah.
her character lives on a lot longer and can serve more story purposes, which because of that, I like the idea of her living because we just get to see more of her. But there's are some times where it's like there just needs to be an end to certain characters, and for it I think that would just further enhance Vader's redemption.
I agree.
He quote unquote kills his wife.
Hmm.
He kills Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
Like he kills his master. He would kill his Padawan, his apprentice, all to be redeemed in the end. Like I think for her to actually die in that scenario would enhance the story a lot. Am I mad that she survives it? No, because we get to see more of her. She's one of the best characters in Star Wars altogether. So seeing more of her is not a bad thing, but I like the hot take. I'll personally say before we get into your verdict on it that I will agree with it, even though
Hmm.
I'm not mad that she does live past that.
I feel like at that moment, it was like the perfect send off for her character.
Yes.
Because I don't feel like she'll get a better send off than in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, I'm not mad either. We're getting an Ahsoka show. I think that's going to be great. I'm super excited for it. But this hot take, I will also agree with. So, Ghastly Monkey, we do grant you the rank of master.
Round of applause for him. That's 2 so far in the video. That's what we like
That's
to see,
2.
boys. Moving on to the 4th hot take. This one comes in from, if I'm pronouncing this correctly, Cao Kio, C-A-O Kio. Shout out to you. This hot take says, during the Galactic Republic era, the Jedi would have been better off if the temple was not on Coruscant, because they became more involved in politics and being part of the Republic rather than being Jedi. I'm not quite sure. I'm gonna send it over to you to get your initial thoughts on it. Let me kind of digest it for a second.
Yeah. This is another one that really did stand out to me because like in some parts I kind of agree with it. I mean, cuz they were heavily involved with politics and then they ended up getting into a war for years. Um but on the other side of that, I don't know if I can imagine the temple being anywhere else. I mean, that was with the temple being somewhere else, I just couldn't imagine that. Like, I mean, it was on the like Coruscant is the basically like the center. No, I don't want to say the center of the galaxy, but
Hey,
everything kind of revolves around Coruscant.
Mark, I think some would say that it's the galactic core.
I knew you were. I knew you were gonna do that, dude.
But I kind of agree with you. It's because it kind of comes back to what Mace Windu says, where he says, we're keepers of the peace, not soldiers."
Yeah.
I've always been so on that line, because I'm like, what really is the difference, do you think? Because you could really define those as the same thing in a certain way. So for them to be on a separate planet, how can they quote unquote keep the peace? I like the idea of it, but I feel for what they were trying to go for, they still have to be somewhat involved with the Senate and the Republic together. So personally, I slightly disagree with it. I love the hot take,
Yeah.
but it's just, I don't know. I have mixed feelings on it, just because of exactly what I explained. I'm not quite sure how things would work after that then.
Yeah, so do I. It's a mixed bag for sure.
So, because we don't quite have the unanimous vote here, we're both somewhat so on the hot take. Cao Kio, I do apologize in advance. We do not grant you the rank of master. Still, round of applause for the hot take. It was still a good one. I enjoyed it. It's a good discussion. So, everyone in the comments, let us know how you feel about these hot takes as well. Thank you.
Time for the 5th and final hot take submitted by the boy Aaron. His hot take is Return of the Jedi is the best of the saga. I really love this hot take because I think Return of the Jedi is very underrated. I feel like people don't give it enough credit. And in my opinion, I think I like it better than The Empire Strikes Back. But there is one movie that is my undisputed number one. I think everybody already knows it. It's Revenge of the Sith. That's my favorite movie. I think it's the best. I'll hand it over to Logan to give his thoughts to see what he has to say about this.
As a hot take, I absolutely love it.
Yes.
Am I in full agreement with it that Return of the Jedi is the best of the saga? Not quite. But I guess this comes down to how we want to define granting them master or apprentice.
Yeah.
With the hot take, is it, do we fully agree with it, or do we just think it's a good hot take? And I think so far we've done if we agree with it. So I can't agree with it because it just goes against what I believe is the best, which I think I'd also probably say Revenge of the Sith is the best. It's not my favorite, but I'd say it's probably the best. But Return of the Jedi is like right there. I wouldn't be like, I could honestly say either or. Those are the two that I think actually compete for the top spot. I think Empire Strikes Back, if I had to do what is best, I'd say Empire Strikes Back is unanimous third. Because I think those two, Return of the Jedi and Revenge of the Sith, I think are fighting for the top spot. And so I can't agree with the hot take, but Aaron, I love the hot take. I do love it. I just can't agree with it.
That's the way I feel about it. I can't 100% jump on it and agree with it. But me and Logan respect the hot take. Underrated movie. But Aaron, I'm so sorry to do this. We do not grant you the rank of master.
That pains. That
It
pains
hurts. It hurts. But man, the hot take was out. That was a fire hot take. All right, that'll be it for Master or Apprentice in this episode. Don't forget, you can leave your hot takes in the Discord or in the comments below, with increased odds of your hot take being picked with being a channel member. But thank you guys for watching, and we'll send it back to the boys in the studio. Wow, phenomenal segment out of the guys. Now, before we get into our next segment, me and Logan actually have some fun facts to share with each other. Did you know that Vader was very vulnerable to Force lightning, and this was done on purpose by Palpatine himself to make sure that if Vader ever did turn on him, he could handle him very easily?
I think I actually did know that.
Mm-hmm.
It's just kind of one of those subtle things that you know in the back of your head, but it's not like something that you would normally pull out as like a fun fact. But
yeah.
Okay, so my fun fact, you know the 3 Jedi Masters that come along with Mace Windu to arrest Palpatine in Revenge of the Sith. I believe it's Agen Kolar, Saesee Tiin, and Kit Fisto. They all actually have the same master, Jocasta Nu, which is the woman in the Jedi archives, the library.
I actually did not know that.
You probably didn't know that because I made that up. That's completely made up. But okay, so my actual fun fact is that Jocasta Nu survives Order 66, and she realizes that she can't get off of Coruscant, can't escape Coruscant, and by this time they had already known that she survived, and Palpatine sent Vader and the Grand Inquisitor to hunt her down, and she tried to kind of end herself before Vader got to her, and she was unsuccessful. Vader stopped it, and then Vader ended up killing her. So that was my fun fact. I figured I would I would give you one that's actually related to Jocasta Nu.
Yeah. All right, now let's send it down the hall to Mark for HoloNet News. Welcome to HoloNet News, the premier spot for news all across the Star Wars galaxy. Our first story today, Star Wars Outlaws. I'm really excited for this because it is our first open world Star Wars game. This is huge for not just this game, but games in the future. You dictate how the story goes, and it is set between the events of Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi on the canon timeline. Main characters Kay Vess, scoundrel-like character, her pet Nyx, and a commando droid companion called ND5. You'll be able to do things like use a blaster in combat, be able to have vehicle combat, and space combat. Now, probably my favorite feature, you'll be able to enter into space from the planet's surface. I mean, this is massive. There'll be 7 planet systems you can travel to through hyperspace, and the game plans to release sometime in 2024. Jumping over to the Rey movie, this is something that I'm kind of hyped for, low-key. It takes place 15 years after the events of Rise of Skywalker, so this is post-war, post-First Order type deal. Rey is attempting to rebuild the Jedi Order because she made a commitment to Luke Skywalker to rebuild the Order. I'm kind of hoping maybe John Boyega returns as Finn. I would be really hyped to see that. Maybe Force Ghost Luke return as well, provide some guidance. I don't know, that's all pure speculation, but I can't wait for it. Jumping over to Tales of the Jedi, not really much is known, to be honest. Be sure on the lookout. We'll be sure to cover any kind of news that comes out about it. But the first season revolved around Ahsoka and Count Dooku. It was also around 6 episodes for season 1, so you kind of expect that for season 2. And it plans to release in 2024. Jumping over to The Acolyte, a show that I've been pretty excited for. This quote comes from President Kathleen Kennedy herself. The Acolyte is a mystery thriller that will take us into a galaxy of shadowy secrets and emerging dark side powers in the final days of the High Republic era. I mean, this quote right here just gets me really hyped. So basically, it's about a former Padawan who will reunite with her Jedi Master to investigate crimes, and they will run into something far more sinister than they possibly imagine. I'm hoping this leads into episode 1, or at least sets it up to kind of give us a little more backstory and background. And it plans to release in 2024. Now, time to talk about Ahsoka. I cannot wait for this. I think this has the potential to be the best Star Wars show, because it is set after the fall of the Empire, and Ahsoka is investigating an emerging threat to the galaxy. Grand Admiral Thrawn in live action. I can't wait for it. Not to mention Sabine Wren, Hera Syndulla, Zeb, Ezra Bridger. I can't wait to see that. See what he's been up to. Hopefully they can bring him back. Hopefully he hasn't turned to the dark side. It's basically, said by Dave Filoni himself, a continuation to Star Wars Rebels. So basically Star Wars Rebels Season 5. I'm sure you guys seen the new trailer, and the show plans to release August 23rd, 2023. Jumping into Bad Batch here right away. Not much is known at the moment. We just know that it picks up where Season 2 left off. This is the final season, which is kind of sad, but I feel like they're going to end it on a bang. A trailer was shown after the panel during Star Wars Celebration, and we will have different kind of appearances from Emperor Palpatine, Dr. Royce Hemlock, Fennec Shan, Rex, and of course the Bad Batch. And it plans to release in 2024. Now lastly, talking about the 3 new movies that got announced. The first one is by James Mangold, and the movie will be called Dawn of the Jedi. I'm really excited for this. Can't wait to see what James has cooking. Hoping it kind of explores the temple and how the first Jedi came to be, essentially. The next movie, Dave Filoni himself. If you didn't know who he is, he directed The Mandalorian and Ahsoka. And the movie will focus on the New Republic. It basically will connect the events of The Mandalorian, Ahsoka when it comes out, and Book of Boba Fett. Can't wait to see what Dave is cooking. He always has great ideas, and he really knows Star Wars like nobody else really does. And for the last movie, Charmin Obaid Chinoy. If you don't know who she is, she's an Academy Award and Emmy Award winning director for Miss Marvel and Saving Face. Her movie will focus on the events after the Rise of Skywalker, Rey rebuilding the Jedi Order. Can't wait to see what she's cooking up. I think this movie could be a sleeper one, and I think it will be sneaky good. So make sure to be on the lookout for that and any news regarding that. The release dates for these movies, May 22nd, 2026, December 18th, 2026, and December 17th, 2027. This has been HoloNet News. Send it back to the boys at the desk.
Thank you, Mark, for that Star Wars news update. Now, before we get into our next segment, we have a special interview with a special guest, Viceroy of the Trade Federation, Newt Gunray. Round of applause for Newt Gunray. So, Mr. Gunray, how are you doing today?
Close the blast doors!
Don't worry, man. They're closed. They're closed. You don't have to worry about anything.
This is getting out of hand. Now there are two of them.
What are you on about?
This isn't how it's supposed to be.
Oh, I know, man. Let's actually get into the interview. That's what I'm trying to do this whole time. So I had a quick question. What's the name of that bounty hunter that's been working with you?
Jungle.
Okay. So what do you guys have going on with the Trade Federation right now?
Lord Sidious promised us peace.
All right. This is over. Get Mark back in here, please. Get Mark back in here.
All right. So how did the interview go, Logan?
I don't really want to talk about it. Let's just go ahead and send you guys over to our next segment, Trivia Trials. Welcome to Trivia Trials. In this segment, Mark will be answering trivia questions in increasing difficulty. 8 trivia questions. They are all considered trials. The Jedi Knight trials. After the first 3 questions, he reaches the Jedi Knight tier. After the second 3 questions, he reaches the Master tier. And then the top 2 questions, which are the hardest ones of them all, he then reaches Grand Master. We're going to see where Mark lands in terms of his Star Wars knowledge. Now, Mark, you're going to have 2 lifelines, 50-50 and multiple choice. You can use them on any question you desire, but I would recommend using them later on. All right, Mark, your first question, first trial. What is Luke Skywalker's call sign in A New Hope?
I do have a guess, but I don't want to just get it wrong right out the gate. At the same time, you know what
that
I'm
would be
about?
very unfortunate for the
would
people
be-
watching if the segment ended 2 minutes in.
That's why I'm like a little about it. Let me use a lifeline.
The lifeline on the first question. Mark, this isn't going to be good, man.
No, it's not, because you're gonna say it. I'm like, yep, I knew it.
Which one do you want to use?
Let's use the multiple choice.
All right. Your multiple choice. A. Blue 42. B. Gold 6. C. Red 8. Or D. Red 5.
All right, I'm gonna go with D, red 5.
That is the correct answer, Red
Okay,
5.
I knew it, but I just wasn't sure. I'm actually glad I used it though, because Blue 42 was actually trolling.
A lifeline on the first question, man. You have passed trial 1. Now on to trial 2, question number 2.
Let's go.
What species is Greedo?
Rhodian, I believe.
Rhodian is correct. He moves past trial number 2. On to trial 3, the final trial before you become a Jedi Knight.
Oh, man.
Question number 3. First revealed in The Phantom Menace, what was Anakin's midichlorian count?
Oh, man, I want to say over 20,000, but I feel like that number is a little... It's not as big as that number. We're going to say over 20,000.
Over 20,000 is
Okay.
correct, Mark.
Okay, I was just overthinking that one way too much. Should have went with my gut.
Mark, you have officially reached Jedi Knight.
Let's go.
Now you've got the next 3 questions to make it up to Jedi Master. Your 4th trial. What character has the very first line of dialogue in Star Wars?
I do still have a lifeline, correct?
You do still have your 50-50.
Yeah, I'd hate to use it now, but I also...
I mean, you can't get much worse than using one of them on the first question.
That's true. Is it C-3PO?
C-3PO is correct, Mark.
Ooh, okay.
All right. That is your 4th trial down. On to the 5th one. What kind of vehicle does Rey live inside while on Jakku?
AT-AT?
AT-AT is correct, Mark.
At.
You're hitting your stride right now.
There we go.
You're hitting your stride. We've got 5 trials down, onto the 6th one to reach the master tier. Next question. What kind of weapon does Han Solo use?
Is it the DL-44 blaster?
DL-44 is correct, Mark.
Let's go.
You are 6 trials in. 6 for 6. You still have a lifeline.
Oh, man.
2 questions left. Can you do it, Mark? How are you feeling right now? 6 questions in. How are you feeling?
I was feeling rough at first, I'm not going to lie, but those last couple questions are making me feel good right now. So
that's good to hear. Let's get on to your 7th trial. Darth Tyrannus hired Jango Fett to be the prime clone of the Grand Army of the Republic on a moon of what planet?
Okay, I remember the line, like the scene.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I don't know if I remember the planet, though. Ah, man, I hate to use my lifeline, but I'm gonna have to, because I don't remember the exact name of this planet.
You want to use your 50-50?
That kind of sucks, because I wanted to save it for the last question, but to get to the last question, I might have to use it.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm just gonna use it, not gonna, because I'm not 100% sure.
All right. Mark is using his 50-50. Mark, your 2 options. A, Bogdan. Or B, Ord Mantell.
A?
Is that your final answer?
That is my final answer.
That is correct. A,
okay.
Bogdan.
I knew it started with a B. I just wasn't 100% sure what the actual name was.
Mark, you are going into the final question. What are the feelings like right now? How nervous are you?
I'm nervous because I hated that I had to use my lifeline right there, but not much I can do about it, so.
All right, Mark. Let's find out if you can reach Grandmaster tier in the first ever Trivia Trials segment. Your final question. In Legends, the blood of what Jedi Master was used to keep General Grievous alive while being turned into a cyborg?
Oh, gosh. I genuinely think I have no idea. No. I'm just going to say Count Dooku, even though I don't know, so. I don't think it is, though.
Is that your final answer?
It's my final answer. It's the only thing I can conjure up here.
I'm sorry, Mark, but You unfortunately did not
Oh,
complete all 8 trials.
dang. Who was
The
it?
answer was Sifo Dyas.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay.
That is very unfortunate, but you did make it to the master tier. You got through 7 questions. You made it to the end.
Hey, I'll take
You made it
master.
to the end. Thank you for watching this segment. Come back in the next episode to see if I can complete all 8 trials. We'll send it back to the guys at the desk.
Mark wasn't quite able to reach the peak, but he was able to get to the rank of Jedi Master nonetheless, which is still very impressive. Now's the time where we recognize our channel members and tell you the benefits. Presenting the Hologram of Fame. Now for our only inclusion, our main man, Wu. You can join Wu along with a lot of other benefits that Logan will tell you about.
For the measly amount of 5 Republic credits, you can join our YouTube channel as a channel member. As Mark said, you could join Wu on the Hologram of Fame, as well as these benefits. First off, you will get an exclusive bonus segment for each episode of the Galactic Core. Each and every one will get a member exclusive segment. You will also get outtakes of us recording each episode, which I will hint you into right now. There are a lot of them. You will also get a special role in our Discord server that you can join in the description below. You'll also get exclusive chat rooms on there as well. As we said, you'll get recognized on the Hologram of Fame, and you will also have increased odds for your questions and hot takes to be chosen for Senate hearing and Master or Apprentice. You will also get badges next to your name on YouTube in the comments section and in our YouTube live streams.
Thanks again to all our channel members. Now, let's send it over to Logan for the Netherworld.
Welcome to the Netherworld. In this segment, we will be deep diving into characters in Star Wars. This week's character is Tech. He has been very much prominent within these past few months of Star Wars. I think it's a great character to start out this segment with. Let's go ahead and get into the origins of the clone that we know as Tech. Tech is just one of 4 original members of Clone Force 99, otherwise known as the Bad Batch. The other 3 members including Hunter, Wrecker, and Crosshair. Tech, along with his brothers, were mutated clones, all given their mutations in Nala Se's private laboratory on Kamino. We also know that Omega was made in the same exact lab. All 4 members of the Bad Batch have their own special traits. Tech is the brains of the group. As for his equipment, Tech used a heavily modified suit of Katarn-class commando armor with a specialized visor that worked as a computer display. Tech also had a computer terminal installed in the forearm portion of his armor. This was used to calculate trajectory, translate alien languages, and record sound effects. A fun fact about those sound effects, Tech would record all sentient sounds that he encountered. Hunter described this as one of Tech's hobbies. In terms of weapons, Tech primarily used 2 DC-17 hand blasters. Now we'll jump ahead to the time period that we know with Tech. Tech made his first appearance in Star Wars in the Clone Wars Season 7. In the Bad Batch arc, this is where Echo eventually joins the squad. Tech was a key piece in locating Echo during the Battle of Anaxis. In the waning days of the Clone Wars, we see the Bad Batch endure Order 66. Tech, along with Hunter, Wrecker, and Echo, do not follow through with Order 66, but Crosshair does. This is where we see the beginning of Bad Batch as a show in Star Wars. Throughout this show, we see a lot of character development with Tech. Throughout the first season, we really get to see a lot of his personality. Tech was very calm and non-confrontational, but he could definitely be sarcastic and a little bit passive-aggressive. Moving into the second season of The Bad Batch, we see the biggest character development that Tech receives throughout the series. Within this season, we see a lot of ups and downs within his relationship with a lot of the members of the Bad Batch, including Omega. Within this season, we get a phenomenal scene with Tech and Omega, where Tech really digs deep into his feelings. Him and Omega have a lot of bonding throughout the season, but it's after this talk where you can definitely see a change in their relationship. Throughout all of his witty comebacks in the series, you really do get to see the love that he has for the rest of the members in the Bad Batch. We then move on to what we see currently as the ending for Tech. Tech meets his end on the home planet of Grand Moff Tarkin, Iriadu. It's in this moment where we see Tech's true colors and his care for the rest of the Bad Batch. Tech sacrifices himself for the betterment of the group to help them escape the Empire on Iriadu. There's a lot of speculation around Tech at the moment and whether he truly is dead, but we're going to go ahead and take it at face value and accept his sacrifice for the Bad Batch. When we first see the Bad Batch, he really is the key to finding Echo in their first mission that we see on screen. And I think it really does come full circle when he does ultimately meet his end, where he is the key for them escaping on Iriadu. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this deep dive into Tech. A salute to him. He was a true soldier, and we love him. That's it for the Netherworld in this episode. Hopefully we'll see you back. Let's go ahead and send it back to the boys at the desk. Thank you, Logan, for that character breakdown. Now, before we get into our final segment for today, we're going to do something that's been featured on our channel for quite a while. Guess the Star Wars character in 30 seconds. Mark, are you ready for your character?
I'm ready. Let's do this.
Okay. Guess the Star Wars character in 30 seconds? Go.
Wedge.
No, it's not Wedge.
Prequel, original, sequel.
Prequel. And in between prequel and original.
1, 2, or 3?
1.
Clone Wars?
Yeah, partially, yeah.
Human?
Yes.
Male?
Yes.
Bad Batch, Andor,
No.
Rogue One?
No.
Bounty Hunter?
No.
Senator?
No. 5 seconds.
Video game?
No.
Rebels?
Time is up. No.
Gosh, because he's not in there. Man, dude. I don't think he's in between. I'm just going to hurry up.
It's a little bit of a sneaky one.
Is it? I forget his name, but is his name? It's not. I don't know. It's not him. I'm just gonna throw a guess out here just because to hurry up. Captain Panaka, is that his name?
That is a character, yes, but that's
Okay,
not who it was.
I didn't think it was because I don't think he was in between. But
it was Qui-Gon Jinn.
oh,
So we were using his Force Ghost.
oh my gosh!
Which makes an appearance in the Clone Wars and in Kenobi.
That is, you got me with that one. That one was.
It was a little bit of a slippery one.
Yeah, that one was a slippery one for sure.
It's unfortunate that Mark couldn't get that character, but now it's time to send us into our final segment. Send it over to the Galactic Senate building for our Senate hearing.
Thanks, Logan and Mark. Welcome back to another Senate hearing. In this segment, we answer your Star Wars questions. Now, to get your questions answered, either throw them in the Discord, leave a comment below, and hey, if you're a YouTube member, you have increased odds. So let's just get right into it here. The first question submitted by Avenging Past 7. What are your thoughts on the massive increase of Jedi that survived Order 66 after the original trilogy made it seem that Obi-Wan and Yoda were the only two to survive? I really like this question. I think it's a really good question because at the time, I feel like at the time, George Lucas, it was just like episode 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah.
So the lore wasn't expanded at all. There was so much to build upon, and they're still building upon it today, obviously. I do think that it's starting to get... I mean, I understand that not every single Jedi will just be killed during Order 66. Like, that's just not... That's not possible. But it's getting to a point where there are a lot of Jedi surviving, and I feel like Order 66 still has a major impact, but I feel like every single Jedi that has been like, oh yeah, I survived, I feel like that impact is not necessarily less, but it's just like a very small impact. I still feel like it has a great impact, but it's getting to a point where it's like, where do we draw the line,
Yeah, I get what you mean by it kind of lessens the impact of someone saying they survived, where it's like, oh, well, so many survived. Technically, like, as a percentage, not a lot survived, obviously.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like it's very small percentage.
Supposedly around 10,000 at the time of Order 66, and we only know of like less than 50 right now. Yeah. So, but I do agree with you that it somewhat lessens the impact of it. But this has been honestly a question I've been seeing go around recently.
Yeah.
All the time. So I've seen a lot of different opinions on it, and it kind of sways my opinion back and forth, kind of gives me different looks into it. But I think it's fine because Palpatine knew that it wasn't gonna take care of all of them. Like when he sees Yoda walk in and they start their duel, he's not surprised that Yoda survived. Like he almost knew that was gonna happen.
Yeah.
So if Yoda survived, there's gonna be plenty of others. And even in the Kenobi show, Palpatine says, like after Kenobi and Vader fight, Palpatine just says stop going after him, like he's not a threat.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where it is, where Palpatine wasn't worried about eradicating every single Jedi from the galaxy. He just wanted to get rid of the idea, like the Jedi were so prominent in the galaxy and now they're nothing. Even though there's still a bunch scattered around, they have no influence whatsoever. And I've also thought of, people bring up the Obi-Wan and Yoda in the original trilogy. They're saying like Luke is their only hope. But that's just because they are looking at it as, we need to stop Vader. We need to stop Palpatine. They're our only hope. Luke's the only hope. Luke's not the only hope of the Jedi like living on. He's the only hope that they can defeat the Sith at that point.
Exactly.
So I honestly like it. I like getting more stories. I do think that certain ones that we're meeting could be expanded upon more instead of bringing in more.
Yeah.
But then there's also like, there's a whole bunch of Inquisitors, like they're all surviving Jedi. There's so many different moving parts to it that I like it. I think it's completely fine that we continue to see more.
Yeah. I mean, in the end goal, Palpatine did achieve his goal. Ruler of the galaxy, and at that point, Jedi were basically a myth. Like nobody really believed that they were real, or
you see that in A New Hope. Like Han is saying, like, no, that's it's a myth. It's not real. It's like,
so I definitely see both sides for sure.
Yeah, I see both sides, but I think
Yeah.
I think it's completely fine that they continue to bring out more. It's just, don't bring out 10,000.
Yeah.
That would
Yeah.
be my only thoughts there.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you, Avenging Past 7. That was a really great question.
To move into our second question of the Senate hearing, this one comes from Philip. What was your first contact with the franchise? Meaning, when did we first experience Star Wars? And I don't quite know if I have a first experience, but I have a lot of uh, early memories of it that I can say. One would be the original Lego Star Wars. Just
Yeah.
absolutely loved it, and I had seen the movies at that point. Luckily, by the time I started playing that, but I still have them. I have VHS tapes of the original trilogy that were all in a set. I have a VHS tape of the Phantom Menace, and it ticked me off that I never had something to be able to constantly watch Attack of the Clones, but I
Yeah.
did eventually borrow a DVD from someone. And when I say borrow, we never gave it back.
I just say you took it.
And so I had a DVD of it, and that was the one I watched all the time. And
Yeah.
as a kid, I never had anything to be able to watch Revenge of the Sith a bunch. So even though it's one of my favorites and what I think is probably the best Star Wars movie, I didn't get to see it that much as a kid, actually, which is kind of surprising in my eyes. But that's really my early memories were, and then also not just playing Lego Star Wars, but actually having Star Wars Lego minifigures and stuff.
Yeah.
So stuff like that. I mean, really. Oh, I couldn't give you my very first experience with it. I couldn't tell you what I thought of the movies when I first watched them. I probably thought they were so sick and just loved them because I love Star Wars now. But yeah, that's just. I had VHS tapes of the original trilogy and the Phantom Menace. Watched them on repeat constantly, and played the original Lego Star Wars. That's about all I've got. What's your first experience, Mark?
Oh man, first experience. I don't really kind of like what you said. I don't really remember like my first experience, but like I remember going over my grandpa's house and he had the VHS tapes of the original trilogy. We'd watch those. I would. I remember seeing episode 3 in the theater. That was amazing, and that's probably why I like episode 3 so much because I got
I
to see
never
it in the
got that
theater.
experience.
See, I was lucky enough to be in there, so um but yeah, I mean, I just knew from the moment that I seen it that I just like you said, I thought it was sick. I loved it. I wanted to play all the video games and
Yeah.
dude, I constantly watched the movies. Specifically 2 and 3 because we have them on DVD. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of where it started was well, my grandpa on my mom and my dad's side, they're both pretty big Star Wars fans and they kind of got me into it and then my mom and dad took me to this episode 3 watching in theaters, so that's kind of my first experience, I guess, in contact with the
Fun
franchise.
fact: the only Star Wars movie I've seen in theaters is The Rise of Skywalker. Was the final saga, the final part of the saga.
One of the most controversial ones too.
That is true. But another thing that I wanted to bring up is like a core memory, I guess. This is kind of what this question has turned into, but
Yeah.
I remember seeing. I would watch. I wouldn't watch it every single day, but anytime I'd watch Cartoon Network, The Clone Wars, if that came on,
Yeah.
and I remember seeing that one. It's one of the very first episodes. It is I believe it's the Rishi Moon outpost
Oh yeah, yeah.
of where Heavy dies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Heavy was one of my favorite clones for the longest time because I saw that as a kid and I was devastated. I was like, that is the coolest way to go out ever.
Yeah, it really
Like,
is.
it was
It
so
really was.
sweet. So that's just another core memory for it. But Philip, thank you for the question. That was a good one. and we can
Yeah.
move into the next one.
All right. So the final question for this Senate hearing is from none other than Avenging Past 7 again. What are your thoughts on Hayden Christensen replacing Sebastian Shaw in the final ghost scene of Return of the Jedi? I mean, for a prequel fanboy, loved it. I love seeing
Yeah.
Hayden Christensen there. It just kind of warmed my heart because the last time we saw him, he was Darth Vader and he turned to the dark side already. He was long gone. So I was devastated when that happened. Even though I knew it happened, I was devastated seeing it.
Mm-hmm.
But seeing him as a Force ghost, seeing him happy again, redeemed from the dark side, I mean, it was amazing. I may have shed a few tears, but I don't really have a problem with it necessarily because I mean, Hayden, in my eyes, Anakin Skywalker is Hayden Christensen, is because that's who I grew up with.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my thoughts on it. Pass it over to Logan, see what he's got to say.
I think it's kind of a whether you prefer one or the other in this regard of like I feel like the creative change for George Lucas to want to make that change, it was because the last time we truly saw Anakin was when it was Hayden.
Yeah.
And you could say, well, Anakin comes back at the end, like when he is still in the Vader suit right before he dies. So it should be Sebastian Shaw. But it's not that, like, the last time we saw Anakin, it was Hayden. It was before he did everything as Darth Vader as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
sure.
we see him in, maybe this is not the greatest way to put it, but in his purest form, even though he had done some pretty questionable things up to that point.
Yeah.
It was his purest form. It was before all of the Darth Vader stuff.
Yeah.
And I feel like you can't, even though he's redeemed, I feel like you can't take him directly after that. You got to go back to his purest form, him as Anakin, and so I think Hayden replacing Sebastian Shaw in that situation is great. But I will say, Sebastian Shaw did a phenomenal job in the few lines he has with the helmet off. Because that moment will never fail to make me cry on the spot.
One of the best scenes ever.
That is top 3 Star Wars scene of all time. Maybe number 1. So shout out Sebastian Shaw for that. I think he deserves all the credit in the world for that.
Yeah.
So maybe you'd say, oh, well, because of that performance, he deserves to be the ghost. But I still think Hayden, in terms of the story continuity, I think he makes the most sense to be the Force Ghost. But
yeah, I agree for sure.
So that's my thoughts there.
I agree with everything you said. So, Avenging Path, thank you for another question. That'll be it for this Senate hearing. Don't forget, if you want your question answered, leave it in the Discord or in the comments below. With increased odds as a channel member, we'll send it back to the boys at the desk. Dude, why did the Chancellor let them do that?
I don't know. He must not be on planet or anything.
So weird. Oh, we're rolling? Thank you guys for watching the first episode of the Galactic Core. I had a lot of fun making it. It was an absolute blast.
It was a great one.
I know Logan had a great time. I had a great time as well. This wouldn't be possible without any of you. So thank you for watching. Subscribe, comment, leave a like, possibly become a channel member. And with that, we thank you again. Good night, Coruscant, and good night, citizens of the Republic.